现在已经到了高峰期了，我不能再陪你们了，你们可以走了。
New found. We gotta find this gigantic spade. Hello, everyone. Is there no purple onion and white onion? There must be a purple and white onion, right? I just don't know where they are. This one tell me where the spade is. Wait, is that it? No, that's just a flower. Anybody see the spade? Why can't Ochi sniff out decor Pikmin? Do these respawn every single time? This looks like the type of. This brick looks very close to the type of. There's the spade. It doesn't look right. Spade. Let's see. I think I have to Google this. Wait, it's right there? Nope. There is a spade. Wait, this is it. Where's he? It's right there. Oh, I missed it. Wikipedia. All right, we got him. Sniff out whatever you need to sniff out, dog. Oh, gee. That's not good. There it is. No scent. I lost 10 Pikmin? All right here. Oh, no, I didn't. They're coming. I just sent them afar and then pull the rug under. Pull the rug out from under them. It's car. Where did the rest of them go? Oh, they're almost here.
That zest on the outside. I'm not getting any of that white pith.
Oh, we got
white
them.
pith is pretty bitter
End
tasting.
the
Not what
day.
you really want in the coleslaw. You only need about a quarter teaspoon of zest. Set that aside. Now the fun part. We're gonna make a ton of lime juice. You know, for most days, if I just need a little juice, I use one of these, just a simple citrus press. But if you need a lot of juice, I pull out the big guns. I bought this for my daughter actually because she loves to make lemonade. This thing is not very expensive, very helpful if you need to make a lot of juice. So I'm guessing I'm gonna need about 4 limes. You see how I'm rolling it? That just helps break open the pulp on the inside so that you get a bit more juice out of it. And if it's in the winter time and everything's cold, pop them in a warm oven for a little bit. Again, just helps the juice flow a bit better. All right, so here we go. I like to get every drop of juice out. It needs to look like that at the end. It needs to be desiccated on the inside. All right, let's see how much we've got here. Now we need a total of 3/4 of a cup. Now about a 1/4 cup of that is for the tacos and the rest is for the lemon lime ice. So I have a little measuring cup here. Alright. Alright, that's for tacos. Set that aside. Now we need 1/2 cup for the lemon lime ice. Perfect. 1/2 cup. Alright. This goes in a big measuring cup. These go in the sink because I love how it makes the disposal smell. On to the lemons. We need 1/2 cup of lemon juice. I'm guessing that's about 3 lemons, thereabout. These lemons look good and
All right,
juicy.
one more.
All right. Okay. Love this thing because it spins both ways and it really brings out the lemons and limes perfectly. All right, let's see where we're at here. Perfect. All right. So that was 1/2 cup of lime juice, 1/2 cup of lemon juice. Got 1/2 lemon left over. Save that for later. Now we're going to add a little bit of sugar, a cup of sugar. I guess it's not a little bit of sugar. I mean, it is the ice, which is kind of a dessert thing anyway. Cup of granulated sugar, pinch of salt. Last but not least, I'm going to add some water to this. We need 2 1/4 cups of water, and I'm going to be fussy. I'm using spring water. Now you can use filtered water. Don't just use water from the tap because any of those off flavors will definitely show up in the final ice. So, 2 1/4 cups of water. 2 cups.
Flower beds,
1/4 cup.
tulips, and
All right. There we go. And that's it. That's everything you need to make a lemon lime ice. Now, I mentioned, if you were listening, I was going to add a little tequila for the adults. But because I make this for large groups, it makes a good amount of ice. I like to make 1/2 of it without the tequila, just in case some folks or the kids don't want it. The tequila also does change the texture of the final ice. It makes it finer, which is really nice. Some people also use vodka because it has less of a flavor, but creates that final texture. All right, so I'm just dissolving all that sugar and the salt. Oh, it smells good. All right, there's lots of ways to make ice. Now, you can pour a bowl and you can stir it constantly, which is not my idea of fun. Or you can use ice cube trays, which is my idea of fun. Because you can leave them in the refrigerator for days, and then you just make as much as you want to in the food processor. Now, I know this this is a pretty cool thing. This is an ice cube tray with a lid on it, and it doesn't spill things as much. And even if it's on its side in the freezer, it doesn't spill all over. So these are my preferred ice cube trays. Now I'm just going to fill them very carefully. And once you get the hang of making these ices, it's so easy to make them any flavor you want. Lemon ice is always an obvious one. Lemon strawberry ice is fun. And if you like the idea of putting some liquor in it, Grand Marnier, peach schnapps, they all are fun and ice. And you can add herbs. You can make a lemon lavender ice if you like. Lots of
tulips.
All right, so those are the ones without the tequila. Now for the tequila, you only really need about a tablespoon or 2, about 2 tablespoons for the full
That the
batch.
one?
This is about 1/2 a batch, so I'm going to add just that and that. Good luck. And whisk that in. And here are the tequila ice. One thing I found out the hard way is that you should totally mark which ones have the tequila in it because it's really hard to tell otherwise. So I've learned to put just a sticker on the ones with the tequila. Sometimes I write a T on there just as a reminder. T.
Is that it?
So these go in the freezer. And again, you need to freeze these for at least 2.5 hours, but they store easily for up to 5 days. After that, they start to pick up some of the off flavors of the freezer. So best use basically within a week.
Love our in-depth reviews? Get the latest from our reviews team delivered straight to your inbox. Our well-equipped cook newsletter provides top
It's a
product
bee.
picks, no-nonsense buying guides, and must-try recipes. No extra fluff, just the smartest ways to shop, save, and cook. Sign up for
Nice.
free now at americastestkitchen.com/newsletter.
It is cute.
So that lemon lime ice is safely tucked away in the freezer, and it's time to turn our
There's the
attention to
tires.
the taco. Now I'm going to start by making a quick sauce that is really nice to drizzle over the top. And I'm going to use this mini food processor, which is my favorite gadget, really inexpensive, great for making things like this. And so we're going to use 1/2 an avocado. I'm going to add it right to the food processor. All right, this is my trash bowl. Always good to have a trash bowl when you're cooking, just to help keep your work surface clean. I know, I'm a dork. But we're gonna add just a little bit of yogurt. Now, about a tablespoon of yogurt. It just adds a nice creaminess because crema, is usually based on cream. But this adds a tanginess I like. And again, this recipe was developed with superfoods in mind, so that might make some sense why this crema is the way it is. I'm gonna add some cilantro. Obviously, I've washed the cilantro already. I'm gonna add about a quarter of a cup. Now, I always use the cilantro stems because they have just the same amount of flavor as the leaves. In fact, I think the stems of cilantro are a bit sweeter. Not the same with parsley, just cilantro. But in this, I like the sauce to be on the smooth side, so I'm gonna get rid of them just for the sauce. And I'm gonna give them a quick chop before we put it in the food processor, just to help those processor. It's a lot like a processor, but it's plausible. All right, so it's about a quarter cup of cilantro, and add a little salt and pepper. Okay, a little bit of lime juice to help the blades go around, about a tablespoon. Last but not least, some water. Since I have the bottle of water out, I might as well use it for this too, you know what I'm saying? All right, 3 tablespoons of water, that should be good. You might need to adjust that water and lime amount just to suit yourself, or if you use thick yogurt like I did, you might need a little more water to make a sauce. This stuff actually tastes good on all sorts of things. I make something very similar to this when I make chili, but I use sour cream and tons of cilantro and scallions and lime juice, and on chili it is amazing. All right, so this is looking pretty good. Oh, this really does make the taco. Don't skip this part. All right, let's set this aside for now, and you can actually make this a day in advance, and it doesn't change color much, thanks, I think, to all that lime juice and the yogurt. So, set that aside for later. Now let's move on to the weirdest part of this recipe, which is the slaw on top, which is based, as I mentioned before, on collard greens. Now, before this recipe, I'd never eaten raw collard greens. I've always had them really cooked for a long time, often with a ham hock or some bacon. So this was kind of a revelation to me. And I fell in love with eating raw collards. So here we have about 4 ounces of collard greens. You want about 2 cups chopped. You know, the stem in the middle, it's really tough and it doesn't taste very good. It tastes kind of bitter. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna trim the collard greens away from the stem. This is trash. A couple ways you can trim that out. You can hold it up like I just did. I did this because it's fun. But another way to do it is you can lie it down flat. You can fold the leaf over in half. And that just exposes that tough part of the collard greens. And you can cut down on either side. That seems safer, right? Especially if I'm doing this for the first time. Fold it over.
That's the retaining wall.
There we go. Now I've washed these leaves already, and I'm just gonna chop them up into nice shreds, like a slaw. So half leaves are good. If the leaves are big, I'll cut them lengthwise again to make them not so wide. Now that we have these long shreds, we're just gonna chop them crosswise into nice fine shreds that you can sprinkle over the taco. And knife work like this is my favorite part of cooking. There's only one way to learn how to cut fast, and that is experience, doing it over and over.
Is that him?
All right, we have to make the dressing for the slaw, and luckily the dressing is lime juice. Yep, that's why I've squeezed all those limes earlier, and a little bit
It is
of
him.
lime zest, right? That I took off the limes before I squeezed them, and salt. So it's a really minimal dressing here. No oil. There's a lot of slaws have mayonnaise or olive oil or something. Not with this, because the salmon is so rich. You actually like the drier, more acidic slaw on top. All right, so into the bowl go the collards. Now we're gonna add a couple other vegetables. Jicama. Jicama, I cut up a lot of jicama at Candy Ranch, let me tell you. And it's delicious. It's delicious in salads. It's delicious crisp on its own with a little hummus or in this slaw. So when you buy jicama, it has a lot of wax on this outside. That's just to help preserve it in the supermarket. It's hard to peel that off. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use a knife and just cut it off. So cut off the ends, and then, just using the curve of the jicama, I'm just gonna curve my knife around and just trim off all that wax and that outside skin. It's a very thick skin, kind of like a turnip or maybe a celery root. There we go. I'm going to cut this into very thin matchsticks. And so I want them to be about that long, you know, so they can fit.
I like
onto the
Pikmin
taco.
4 in the
And the
end.
way you make matchsticks is first you make planks. You make the planks about as thick
Why is Pikmin
as you want
3 the same as
matchsticks
that?
to be. All the way to the end.
When it's not as,
Oh,
you know,
so good. It's like a cross between a Granny Smith apple and a sweet.
anxiety
So it has that texture of
inducing.
an apple, but the flavor of a good, clean spring sweet pea. All right, so now with a plank, you just cut it in the other direction into matchsticks. These are a little big. You can make them as big or as thin as you want. Again, I'm having fun by going fast. Probably because someone's watching. It's more fun to cut fast when someone's watching you. It's like a little show off. Into the bowl that goes. I'm going to use my bench scraper. If you don't have a bench scraper, time to invest. These things are less than 20 bucks. And they just make it so easy to move food around the kitchen, or if you're chopping onions here and you need to go to the stove, it just makes it really seamless. All right, next step, we're going to do half of a red onion. We're going to slice the red onion thin. And I'm fussy about how I slice my onion. I know, shocker, right? I like
Alright, I think we'll end it there today because so we don't have to, because I can keep playing all night and that probably was not a good idea.
And those to me are a little stringy. I'm not a big fan. So to make the pole-to-pole cut, you basically angle your knife with the shape of the onion. I'll slow down. This hand is important, right? The claw. When I get about halfway through, I generally tip it over just to make it a bit easier for the second side. And it also leaves you with this middle part. And it's kind of a game. How many slices can I get before that collapses? Ooh, that was good. All right, so that's half a red onion. Next, we're going to add some radishes. Nice peppery flavor, beautiful color. You can see this is unlike any other slaw that
Complete.
you've probably seen on a taco. Man, is it good. In fact, I just make this slaw sometimes just to have on the side of any grilled meat or fish because it's refreshing, it's colorful, it's playful, and if you have people over for dinner, it's just so unusual. It's like it's a good conversation. All right, so for the radishes, you can do a lot of different things.